everyone, it's story time. Today we're going to read Growing Trees, and this book is written by Judith Bauer Stamper. She's the author who writes the words, and it's illustrated by Wesley Lowe, and he draws the pictures. Okay, here we go. Growing Trees. This is a picture of my tree and me. We've been growing together for a whole year. So she's standing next to her tree. It all began last summer. I went to visit a national forest with my mom and dad. A forest is a great place to learn about trees. There are trees as far as you can see. Have you ever been in a forest? We took a hike with a forester, an expert on taking care of trees in the wild. The forester showed us small, young trees and big old trees that were like towering giants. That means they were really tall. Then he explained the life cycle of a tree. It all starts out with a seed. In the spring, the warm sun makes the seed germinate. That means it begins to grow. The seed sprouts a small root. See the root there coming out of the seed? Down into the ground. The root absorbs the water and minerals from the soil. So the dirt is the soil. Next, a small stem pushes out of the ground and grows into tiny seed leaves. These are the seed leaves. The leaves use the sunlight to give the tree energy to grow. Kind of like how you use food to give you energy to grow. A new growth called a shoot appears at the tip. Here's the shoot of the stem. Larger leaves grow from the shoot. The seedling is on its way to becoming a tree. So look, it starts as a seed, then the roots start coming through the seed, and then it comes up out of the ground, and it's starting to become a tree. The young tree keeps growing if it gets enough water and sunlight to survive. In the next year of life, the tree grows buds that may turn into leaves, and soon the tree has branches, a woody trunk, bark, and lots of leaves. So here is the trunk of the tree, and on the trunk is the bark, and these are called the branches, and at the top, the green is the leaves. Each year, the tree grows taller and its trunk gets wider. A forester can tell how old a tree is by counting the rings. So inside of the trunk, if it's cut down, or if you see a stump, you can look at the rings inside and count them to find out how old the tree is. For each year it's been alive. This tree here was more than 100 years old. Wow, that's really old. A forester can also find out how old a living tree is by using a tree boarder. This is a tool that takes out a small part of the tree without hurting it. So if the tree isn't already cut down and they can't tell how old it is from the rings, they use this tool called a borer to see how old it is without hurting the tree or cutting it down. After our trip to the forest, I wanted to grow a tree of my own. Dad took me to a nursery. That's where you can buy flowers, shrubs, and trees. A nursery has trees that have grown big enough to transplant or plant into a new place. The nursery worker showed me trees that have flowers in the spring and fruit in the summer. We looked at trees with soft leaves and trees with pine needles. So there's lots of different types of trees. So she's looking at one she wants to pick out to plant in her yard. I chose a maple tree. My tree was already more than 4 feet high, just a little taller than me. So look, her tree that she picked was just a little taller than her. The nursery worker helped us choose a shovel to plant the tree. She recommended organic fertilizer to feed the tree as it grew. Then she went over the instructions on how to plant my tree. So what do you think she needs a shovel for? When she plants the tree, she has to dig a hole, right? So she could put the tree in there so the roots can get the nutrients from the soil. I picked out a place in our backyard where the tree would have lots of sunlight and lots of room to grow. Then Dad and I dug a hole with the shovel. The hole was as deep as the tree's root ball and about 3 times as wide. We carefully lowered the tree into the hole. We loosened the burlap bag around the roots so it's wrapped in burlap to protect the roots until you plant it in the ground. Next, we filled in the soil around the tree. I added organic fertilizer to the soil and sprinkled mulch on top. Then, I gave my tree a nice drink of, what is she doing? She's giving him a nice drink of water. Dad asked an arborist to check the other trees in our yard. An arborist is like a tree doctor. It's a doctor, but they take care of trees instead of people. She pruned the branches of our big trees with pruning shears. So pruning means she's cutting them off, almost like when you go get a haircut. You cut off the pieces that aren't doing well anymore so that your hair grows faster. She checked all the trees for signs of disease. She also listened for bugs by using a stethoscope, and she looked just like a doctor. Does the doctor use this when you go to the doctors to check your heart? Well, she's using this to check the tree to see if the tree is healthy. One of our oldest trees had been damaged in a storm. The arborist used a handsaw and a chainsaw to cut off 2 of the broken limbs. I asked the arborist to check my tree. She said it was doing just fine. She added a stake to help it grow up straight. So see how there's 2 stakes next to the tree? And it's holding the tree so the tree grows nice and straight. When the weather turned cold, my tree's green leaves turned, what color did they turn? Bright red. And then they twirled down to the ground. So what season do you think this is? The leaves are falling. It looks like it's fall. The tree's getting ready for winter because in the winter time it's too cold for the leaves to stay on the tree. The next spring, my tree grew buds that turned into leaves over the summer. It grew branches with more leaves, and its trunk grew thicker. This is a leaf from my red maple tree. It has 3 lobes that have saw-tooth edges. So here is the stem, and here are the lobes. The bark is dark gray and rough with little ridges. So see the bark, it's gray, and it's like bumpy and rough. All summer I watered my tree and checked it for insects, and it just kept growing. The arborist said that my tree could grow 60 feet high. That's taller than my house. Look at my tree now. It's much taller than I am. If I take good care of it, it will be around for a long time. A tree is a great friend to grow up with. So look, do you remember how tall the tree was when she first got it? And this is a year later, so look how tall it is now. It's much taller than her now. And it's going to keep on growing if she takes good care of it. Okay, friends, so you can also plant trees. Which tree would you choose if you were able to plant a tree? This is an oak tree. Do you know what this tree is? You see it in warm areas. This is called a palm tree. This tree doesn't have leaves, it has needles, and this is called a pine tree. We see those a lot around here too. This tree looks like it has long, this is called a weeping willow. It has long greenery on it. This one's called a Japanese maple. That's nice and bright. This is a Japanese maple tree. And this tree has fruit on it. This is a sweet cherry tree. And this tree you could get cherries from. That's really cool. I would like to plant a fruit tree because then you can eat the fruit off of it when it grows. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed the book. We'll see you soon.